Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to talk about the entry list of the IMSA Battle on the Bricks, which will be the 10th and penultimate IMSA round in 2024 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There will be 56 cars competing among 4 classes. For this race, every team in the LMP2 and GTD classes must have 3 drivers in their cars, while the GTP and the GTD Pro classes must have at least 2 drivers and a maximum of 3 drivers each car. So who are all the drivers competing at Indianapolis this weekend in the IMSA Weatertech Sportscar Championship? So let's discover them now. Number 1, GTD. There will be 23 cars confirmed for the Indianapolis round, with all the endurance entries returning and also new teams joining, like the number 56 Dragonspeed and number 90 Kelly-Moss with Riley, and Inception Racing debuting its Ferrari 296 GT3 car. So let's discover the GTD drivers. The first team in this list is Vassar Sullivan number 12 Lexus RCF GT3. Aaron Tellitz is back and will be alongside full-season drivers Frankie Montecalvo and Parker Thompson. The second team in this list is the Corvette AWA number 13. Lars Kern is also returning and joins Ori Fidani and Matt Bell. The third team is AF Course number 21, which is returning to the grid for being an endurance entry using a Ferrari 296 GT3 car. Francois Herriot, Simon Mann and Miguel Molina will be returning as the drivers. The fourth entry is the Triarci Competizione number 023, which is also back after not competing at the Virginia round with a Ferrari car. Charles Scardina and Onofrio Triarci are returning, but the third driver will be Riccardo Agostini because Alessio Rovera will be competing at the 3 Hours of Monza in the GT World Challenge. The next one is the Heart of Racing team number 27 with Aston Martin Vantage GT3 Evo. The team principal Ian James is returning to the driver lineup and joins Roman De Angelis and Zachary Robichon. Now the Korthoff Preston Motorsports Mercedes number 32. The driver lineup is interesting there because in the initial list, only 2 drivers are confirmed with Michael Grenier and Kenton Koch. And I don't know if Mike Skeen will be joining later or not at Indianapolis. The next team is Conquest Racing Ferrari number 34. Cedric Spirazzoli is back and joins the full-season drivers Manny Franco and Albert Costa Balboa. Now the Magnus Racing Aston Martin number 44, which is also returning for being an endurance entry. Andy Lally, John Potter and Spencer Pompelli are the drivers. And who is also returning after being absent at CTMP, Road America and VIR is the Andretti Motorsports number 43 with a Porsche 911 GT3 car. The driver lineup keeps the same with Jarrett Andretti, Gabby Chavez and Scott Hargrove. Now Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Lamborghini number 45. Graham Doyle is back and joins Danny Formal and Kyle Marcelli. Settler Racing Ferrari number 47 is also back because it's an endurance round. The drivers are the same with Roberto Lacorti, Giorgio Sonegiato and Antonio Fuoco. And now the only Mustang in the GTD class, the Proton Competition number 55. The WEC full-season driver Ben Barker is joining the team and will compete alongside Corey Lewis and Gianmarco Leverato. So now the new entry in the GTD list, which is Dragonspeed number 56 with a Ferrari GT3 car. This team is migrating from the LMP2 class after competing this year at Daytona, Sebring and Watkins Glen. The drivers confirmed are Henrik Hedman, Rasmus Lind and the Ferrari factory driver Tony Villander. And here comes the Winward Racing Mercedes number 57. Indy Donch is back and joins the full-season drivers Russell Ward and Philip Ellis. And now the only Acura GT3 team with the Gradient Racing number 66. Tatiana Calderon is back and joins again with Sheena Monk and Stephen McAleer. The next one is the Inception Racing number 70. At Indianapolis, the team will be debuting its new Ferrari 296 GT3 car after deciding not to use the McLaren car which was on the track until the VIR round. But the drivers will still be the same with Brendan Aribe, Frederick Schandorf and Ollie Milroy. Now the 78 Forte Racing Lamborghini. Laura Spinelli and Misha Goikberg will count with the returning of Devlin DeFrancesco in the car. The next team is Lone Star Racing Mercedes number 80, which is returning because it's an endurance race. The drivers will still be the same with Sally Yalik, Rui Andrade and Scott Andrews. Iron Dames is also back on the grid at Indianapolis and the lineup will be the same with Sarah Bovey, Rahel Fry and Michelle Gadding. And here comes MDK Motorsports Porsche number 86. There will be a different lineup for Indianapolis because Brendan Leach will be joining Caron Lee and Anders Fjordbach, because Klaus Bachler will be competing this weekend at Monza. And now one more new entry on this list, which is actually the returning of Kelly-Moss with Riley Porsche but using number 90. The drivers confirmed are Jake Peterson, Kay Van Berlo and Riley Dickinson. Now the penultimate team in this list is Turner Motorsport BMW number 96. Jake Walker is back and rejoins the full-season drivers Robbie Foley and Patrick Gallagher. And finally the Wright Motorsports Porsche number 120. Jen Halen returns and will be alongside Adam Adelson and Elliott Skier. Number 2, GTD Pro. There will be 12 cars confirmed for the Indianapolis round, and we will have RACE Competizione, Iron Lynx number 19 returning because they are endurance entries. And also we will have the Sun Energy 1 number 75 back on the grid after only competing at Daytona this year. So let's discover the GTD Pro drivers. Beginning with the Corvette Racing by Pratt Miller, which will have 2 cars number 3 and 4. The GM team decided to have only 2 drivers for each car in this round. The number 3, which will have Alexander Sims and Antonio Garcia, while its sister car will be with Nicky Katzberg and Tommy Milner. Now Paul Miller Racing BMW number 1. This team is one of the GTD Pro entries which decided to have 3 drivers at Indianapolis. Brian Sellers and Madison Snow will count with the returning of Neil Verhagen. The next entry is Pfaff Motorsports number 9, which is the only team to use a McLaren car at Indianapolis because Inception Racing now will be using Ferrari. There will be only 2 drivers with Marvin Kirchhofer and Oliver Jarvis. And now the Vassar-Sullivan Lexus number 14. They will also have only 2 drivers with Ben Barnicoat and Jack Hawksworth. The next team is the number 19 Iron Lynx Lamborghini, which is returning to the GTD Pro class. Due to the clash with 3 hours of Monza in GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup, Frank Pereira and Jordan Pepper will not race at Indianapolis. And with that, the DTM drivers Maximilian Paul and Luca Engelster will be competing in the car number 19. And now the heart of racing Aston Martin number 23. They will also use only 2 drivers, which will be Ross Gunn and Alex Riberas. The next car is another team which will be returning to the grid just because Indianapolis is an endurance round, and I'm talking about RACE Competizione Ferrari number 62. Only 2 drivers will be competing with Daniel Serra and Davide Riggin. The next team is the Ford Multimatic Motorsports, which is another team alongside Pratt Miller, which also uses 2 cars on the GTD Pro grid with number 64 and 65 and will also have 2 drivers each. The number 64 will have Harry Tinknell and Mike Rockenfeller as the drivers, while its sister car 65 will be driven by Joey Hand and Dirk Muller. And who is also back is Sun Energy 1 Mercedes number 75. This team will have an Aussie trio with Kenny Habul, Jordan Love and the Supercars superstar driver Chaz Mostert. And finally the AO Racing Porsche number 77, which will be returning with Rexy livery after 2 rounds using Roxy. The WEC Porsche Penske hypercar driver Michael Christensen will be back and joins Lauren Heinrich in the 77. Number 3, LMP2. The LMP2 class is back after not competing at VIR, which was an exclusive GT race. But for the Indianapolis, we will have only 10 cars competing because Dragonspeed migrated to the GTD class, while the 04 CrowdStrike Racing with APR once again will be absent in consequence of the CrowdStrike blackout in July, and Sean Creech Motorsport number 33 will also not compete at Indianapolis because Lance Wilsey decided to step away from motorsports, and with that the team still needs to find a bronze driver to replace him. So let's discover all the LMP2 drivers for the Indianapolis round. So first of all, let's start with the United Autosport, which will be the only team in the class to have 2 cars, the number 2 and 22. At the car number 2, Nico Pino is back and joins Ben Keating and Ben Hanley. And in the sister car, Bijoy Garg returns and will compete alongside Dan Goldberg and Paul Di Resta. The next team is Tower Motorsports number 8. John Ferrano and Charlie Eastwood will count with Michael Dinnan's return in the 8. The 4th car in the LMP2 grid is the TDS Racing number 11. Hunter McElrea returns to the team and rejoins Stephen Thomas and Mikkel Jensen. The next team is Era Motorsport number 18. Dwight Merriman is back after being absent at CTMP and Road America. Connor Zilish is also returning because he's an endurance driver, and both join Ryan Dalziel. The 6th confirmed entry is the number 20 MDK by High Class Racing. For being an endurance race, the team will have the return of Scott Huffaker, who will be joining Dennis Anderson and Seth Lucas. The next team is the number 52 Inter Europol by PR1 Mathiasen Motorsports. Jakub Smichowski is back and rejoins Nick Boole and Tom Dillman. At the number 74 Riley, Josh Burton is returning and rejoins Gar Robinson and Felipe Fraga. So the penultimate team in the LMP2 list is the number 88 Richard Mill AF Course. We will have a change in the lineup because Dylan Murray is joining the team because Lilo Wadu will be competing in Japan at Super GT. The American driver joins Luis Perez Kumpank and Nicholas Nielsen. And finally the number 99 AO Racing Spike. Matt Brabham is back and rejoins PJ Hyatt and Paul Lou Shatton. Number 4, GTP. And finally, let's talk about the GTP, which is the top class of the IMSA Weatertech Sportscar Championship and is also returning after not competing at Virginia. There will be 11 cars competing at Indianapolis, with the Lamborghini SC63 returning because this is an endurance round. So let's check now all the drivers. Beginning with the Caddy operations. First, the number 01 Cadillac Racing, operated by Chip Ganassi Racing. At Indianapolis, the team will have only 2 drivers with Renger van der Zonde and Sebastian Bourdais. While at the 31 Whelen Cadillac Racing, they will compete with 3 drivers, which are Jack Aitken, Pipo Derani and Tom Blomqvist. Now the Porsche operations. First, the Porsche Penske Motorsport, which is the factory operation and will have 2 cars number 6 and 7, which are fighting strongly for the GTP championship. At the 6, only 2 drivers will be competing with Mathieu Jaminet and Nick Tandy, as like at the sister car number 7 with Dane Cameron and Felipe Nasser. And about the customer operations, both teams will be competing with 3 drivers. At the number 5 Proton competition, Alessio Picariello returns to the team after only competing at Daytona and Sebring and joins Gian Maria Bruni and Bent Viskel. And at the number 85 JDC Miller, WEC Jota hypercar driver Phil Hansen also returns and rejoins Richard Westbrook and Tijman van der Helm. Now the Acuras, which are operated by Wayne Taylor Racing Andretti with 2 cars number 10 and 40. And like Cadillac Racing and Porsche Penske, only 2 drivers each car will be competing. At the number 10, Felipe Albuquerque and Ricky Taylor will be there, while its sister car will have Jordan Taylor and Louis Delatraz. Now the BMW RLL team, also with 2 cars, the number 24 and 25. And like Cadillac, WTR and Porsche Penske, only 2 drivers each car will be competing. The number 24 will still have Jesse Krohn and Philip Eng, while its sister car with Connor De Philippi and Nick Yellowly. And finally, the last team in this list, the Lamborghini Iron Lynx number 63, which is returning to the GTP grid because Indianapolis is an endurance round. Romain Grosjean returns after not competing at Watkins Glen due to clash with the IndyCar race at Laguna Seca and rejoins Andrea Caldarelli and Matteo Caroli. So these are all the drivers which will be competing at the Battle on the Bricks at Indianapolis in the IMSA Weatertech Sportscar Championship. So who's gonna win the race next weekend? Which team are you going to support? So tell below in the comment sections. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not lose more videos about IMSA and WEC. We see you in the next videos.